So here's the island of Manhattan, belted round by wharves and water. And on a dreamy Sunday afternoon, look and you will see miles and miles of men, posted like silent sentinels, staring at the ocean, gazing at the water. For meditation and water are wedded forever. And as for me, when I go to sea, I go as a simple sailor, and the whale itself, forever unreachable, a giant snow hill on the horizon. 8 bells. Do you hear them? They say that books are the way the dead talk to the living. And so the great floodgates of the wonder world swung open, and I passed through them. You know, when Melville finished Moby Dick, he sent it to a friend, along with a note that said, "Concerning my forthcoming book, don't you open it. Don't you read it. It's made of rough ropes and chains. A polar wind blows through it, and birds of prey hover over it." Pretty amazing thing to say about your new book. But I guess there are a lot of artists who, finish a big work and they step back and they look at it and they're kind of revolted, or at least sort of disappointed. And there's Melville begging his friends not to read his new book, this book that he thought was going to be his masterpiece. Now, I have the Bantam paperback edition, and it's pretty ripped up at this point. I've read it so many times. And it's strange. Each time I read it, it seems like there are all these new themes and subplots and undercurrents. Now, Melville calls his book a draft of a draft of a draft. And he keeps jump cutting around, and there are all these long chapters about fishing rights and the Crusades and alchemy. And then he creates all these characters, and he puts them on a boat, and he ships them out, and they only gradually realize that it's not at all clear where they're going. But no one ever says, "Exactly what is it that we're looking for, sir?" Anyway, I've finally decided that what Moby Dick is really about is enormous heads. And not just Melville's head, so full of secrets and stories and theories. But there's the whale. And what the whale looks like to them is this huge, monstrous, sort of disembodied head floating out in the middle of nowhere, sort of bobbing up and then disappearing below the surface. Just this huge head with a tail. And my favorite story is right in the middle of the book. And it's about the time they cut the whale's head off and they suspend it from the side of the ship with cables. And then they drill a hole in the head and they lower buckets inside to get out the oil. And then to get the last little bit of oil, they lower this guy inside. And then Melville creates this really weird accident. Suddenly, the cables snap, and the head, no longer buoyant with the oil, starts to sink rapidly to the bottom of the ocean with this guy inside. And then he sort of jump cuts to this medieval German theory about the spine, which is that each vertebra is actually a tiny miniature skull. And they're all stacked up, and they terminate in this big one that's balanced up on top. But you know, when you think about it, humans are the closest mammals to whales in terms of sheer proportional head size. We're born with these enormous, almost monstrously huge heads and these tiny, tiny bodies. And our heads are so huge and heavy that we can just barely lift them off our pillows. You know, I always wondered what the name is for this little groove right above your mouth, this little trench. And recently I found out that it's called the philtrum, and that according to Jewish mythology, we're born knowing everything. Where we come from and where we're going. But just as we come to life, an angel flies down and puts a finger right here. And it leaves this mark. And this mark is called the secret of all beginnings.
Call me the captain! Okay, now I'll be honest with you. I never read the book! But hey, we all love the old story of a sinking ship. Tables and chairs and ropes and sails all sucked under, descending slowly to the bottom, watched only by the beady eyes of a passing squid. I'll see the wide world! There was a man running on the horizon. Moonlight on the water. And the great white whale, to me, has seen it. Yes? No? The color of a vile wind. The color of my missing leg. The color of a clock that's running out of time. The color of nothing. And the world adrift, and Noah counting his animals, and a accountant's mind. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Always saving for a rainy day. But that dog when he walks around collecting bugs! In a world that is broken and ripped apart long ago! And me, I'm a collector too. But everything looks ugly. And the crew, a mob of unnecessary duplicates. The less said, the better. Let Karl Marx write their miserable story, and the ghosts in their shrouds, dead these many long years. drowned a long time ago in an old book. And the Lord shall smote Leviathan, that crooked serpent, that piercing serpent. And he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Isaiah 27, 1. I see the white wall! I'm a stranger here myself! I'm the one who got away!
Dreams are the music of the pulse. The pounding of my heart. As a tick-tick. As a tick-tick.
You know, when I first started working on this project about Moby Dick, I did a lot of research on whales. So I went to the Museum of Natural History here in London to talk to the people in the whale department. Now this place, like a lot of institutions, is kind of running low on funds, and they've been economizing and sort of doubling up on personnel. So I talked to the new head of the whale department, and as it turned out, he really didn't know that much about whales at all. His specialty was worms. And he had his new book on worms on sale in the gift shop, completely illustrated with his own pen drawings. Anyway, we got to talking about various groups that have been trying to make contact with whales and checking out some of their, websites. And now one of these groups has a plan to build a large tin barge and then sort of tap dance the whale's clicking language patterns on the barge in an effort to raise him up. And the other part of the group plans to dress in giant squid costumes and then sort of dangle their tentacles over the side as bait. Now, the idea of dressing up as the whale's favorite food and and then trying to make contact with him without knowing the code. Well, you'd have to say that's simply sort of suicidal. Anyway, just one more point before going on, and that's concerning the characters and, let's say, plot in Moby Dick. And I'm thinking now of the 1926 Warner Brothers movie starring John Barrymore. Now, briefly, here's the plot. Ahab has fallen in love with Esther, who actually isn't a character in the book. But she doesn't really love him back, so as a consequence, he ships out to hunt Moby Dick. Now, in the movie version, you actually see the whale rip his leg off. And so he's down in the hole, and he's trying to recover, and he's sweating and hallucinating, and his half-brother happens to be there. And the half-brother says, you know, listen, there are a lot of girls who would really be put off by a guy with only one leg. But you know, Esther just isn't that kind of a girl. By the way, the half-brother is also in love with Esther. Anyway, pretty soon there's a big ball down in Atlanta, kind of a complicated plot, and Ahab sees Esther at the ball, and she seems on the surface anyway pretty repelled by the stump. So he ships off again to hunt Moby Dick. Anyway, a few years go by, and he's hunting somewhere near Japan, and there's a big typhoon. And Esther and the half-brother just happened to be in the area at the time, and the typhoon sinks their ship, and the half-brother sort of floats by the Peaquod, and Ahab fishes them out. And the half-brother confesses that actually, Esther was in love with Ahab all along, and it was all a kind of big mistake. Now this makes Ahab so angry that he rips his peg leg off, and he beats his half-brother to death, and he throws him overboard. Kind of a Cain and Ahab sort of subplot. Anyway, a few more years go by, and Ahab is back in Nantucket, and he decides just, you know, for old time's sake, to stop by Esther's place. So he walks down a road, and he opens her gate, and he knocks on her door, and suddenly, there's Esther, just standing there. She hadn't drowned at all. Anyway, there are several other characters in the movie that are never mentioned in the book, and one of them is a hangman named Johnny. And he sings this really long sea chanty over the opening credits about his plan to hang various members of the crew. So I thought it would be only fair to do something from the movie tonight as well as the book. So, this is it.
They call me Hangin Johnny, 'cause I hang so many men. I keep the men in line, I give their orders to them. So pull, lads, pull, lower away. Stick your hand in fire, walk on the polar ice, or we'll hang you from the yardarm, we won't think about it twice. I give the orders, I am the captain's will, so pull, boys, pull. They call him Hangin Johnny, 'cause he hangs so many men. I'd hang my dear old mother, I'd hang my best friend. So when you see a whale, boys, lower for the kill. I give the orders, I am the captain's will. Ooh, the beauty of a night on a summer sea, written up there in the dying stars, the way the world should be. Then we'll cut you down and put you in a box, drop you in the water without a second thought. We'll reduce you to a teardrop, a teardrop. My name will be written in the starry night, starry night, starry night. I live forever in the wild heights, wild heights. Written up there in the polar lights. Remember me, remember me. My name will be written in the starry night, starry night. I live forever in the wild heights, wild heights. Written up there in the polar lights. Remember me, remember me.
Seat thyself sultanically upon moons of Saturn, and take high abstracted man alone, and he is a wonder, a grandeur, and a woe. But zoom in closer, and look at mankind as individuals, both historical and hereditary, and you will see they are for the most part a mob of unnecessary duplicates. The moon on the water, it shines like a lucky dime, a single pale circle, and the ocean's skin is thin as man's. And yet, some certain significance lurks in all things, else all things are little worth, and the round world itself but an empty cipher, a huge zero to sell by the cartload, to fill up some morass in the Milky Way. What makes the front of man? His eyes. It is his eyes.
Now on this ship, there was a little cabin boy named Tip. And he had a little tambourine. And he loved to hit it. Oh, rig-a-dig, ding-dong-dig. He was the bell boy. How many bells? 8 bells. Well, then one day they lowered the boat, and they threw a line and it wrapped around his throat, and it jerked him out into the water. Boy, overboard. And then the bosun said, cut the line, cut it back. and they reeled him in like an old drowned rat. And then the bosun said,
Listen up, Pip. The motto in whaling is stick to the ship. But if you choose to jump again, we're gonna leave you there, out in the deep end.
well, you know what happened? Pip jumped again, and they left him out there for a night and a day, bobbing around like a piece of old hay. Boy overboard.
Pip, a cabin boy, he slipped and fell. He landed in the water. He fell into another world. Boy overboard. Boy overboard. He slipped slow motion down, a ringing in his ears, ding dong bell. He fell, he fell, he fell. Shots of light, everything is straight. Underwater lights, the sweet things of the world, the thundering hills, the cheeks of young girls, they become just us. Pip, a cabin boy, he dropped down to the bottom. He fell without a sound, and down on the ocean floor he walked around. Boy overboard. Boy overboard. Pip saw God the Weaver working on his loom, and God said, listen, Pip, even if you drown down here in the gloom, even if you call, I can't see you, I can't hear you, I'm busy. All creation mechanical, all creation mechanical.
Up in the masthead high above the deep black sea, sparkling rain is wrapping all all around me. Comets fly by, planets turning in their spin. And I whirl around with them. I fly through the silent night. I'm a part of it, a tiny speck, a molecule, just a drop in the heart of it. On bright days, the great white clouds go sailing by. They look like giant whales and boats in pursuit of them. On dark nights, great panoramas in the sky. And down below me, the ocean's rolling. But then I think, what if I slip? I move my foot or hand a bit, I find myself falling through a hole in the world, down into the summer sea. Some believe that there's a bigger plan, and accidents are just another part of it. But I am just a simple man. I'm flying, falling into the heart of it. And if a man is what he knows, then I would be a tiny speck, a molecule, just a drop in the heart of it. There are divers who go down. They walk on the bottom of the ocean just to take a look around. But if I fall from way up here, what would I be? Just another drop in the heart of the green sea. And the waves roll, and the crests and the swirls. And if I slip, I would fall, I'd be falling through a hole in the world, down into the summer sea. And the waves roll, and the crests and the swirls. And if I slip, I would fall, I'd be falling through a hole in the world.
And the waves roll, and the crests and the swirls. And if I slip, I would fall, I'd be falling through a hole in the world.
How to find you, maybe by your singing, or weird trail notes in the water. One white wave in all these oceans. One white wave slipping through the nets of silence under polar ice caps miles down. You leave your echoes in the water. One white wave in all
a Spanish coin and nailed it to the masthead. Whoever shall raise the crooked jaw and wrinkled brow of Moby Dick shall have it. See this gold coin? It is the bait. It's the lure that shines and spins around in the water. It is the lure that draws them up. Certain metals, magnets, lights can create an alchemical reaction in man. These metals, when used correctly, create a spark. And he who was made of wood, dull lead, will stand before your eyes, a living, breathing thing.
Because in all men there reside certain properties, occult and wondrous and hidden, that when combined by mistake are called forth here on earth as it is in heaven. We are made of diamonds and dust, chalk and carbon. We are made of fire and water. We freeze, we boil, we bend.
See this magnet? When tuned correctly, it will draw them forth and they will resonate. Vibrate!
Because in all men there reside certain properties, occult and wondrous and hidden, that when combined by mistake are called for here on earth as it is in heaven. We are made of diamond and dust, chalk and carbon. We are made of fire and water. We freeze, we boil, we bend.
Not gilded, no. But solid through and through. See this coin? Now you see it, now you don't. Watch it wheel to the great unfallen Western world. Just another unhappy sunset. See this light? Shine it in their eyes. Now watch this. Under darkness. See it? The great white whale. Burn into your eyes. And every man looking for his monster!
Sperm whales communicate with each other using elaborate clicking patterns. And they can project these patterns over vast distances in the ocean. And they use them to talk to each other about the weather, various feeding grounds, and how to get there, and routes and navigation. But because the ocean is so noisy now, with all the information that travels underwater, it's easy for the whales' patterns to get drowned out. And if the whales can't hear the patterns, they lose all sense of direction. And they start to get lost. For example, young males who spend the summer up near Norway start to swing back down south. But if they can't hear the patterns clearly, they take the left turn too early. And instead of swimming out into the Atlantic, they swim down the English Channel and get beached on the shore. You know, there are a lot of things about sperm whales that never get explained in Moby Dick. For example, why sperm whales are called sperm whales. And the reason is that in the 15th century, some French farmers found a beached whale, and they cut the whale's head off. And inside they found about 1,000 pounds of this oily white stuff. And they assumed for some reason that this must be the whale's sperm. Although what 1,000 pounds of sperm would be doing stored in the whale's head remains something of a mystery to them. As for the great whales themselves, they swim the seas in enormous caravans, led by the old bull male. And when he's past his prime, he splits off from the herd, and he becomes a kind of loner. And he starts to swim in wide, irregular circles, talking to himself. Like the last man in a flooded world.
As for my knowledge of the bones of Leviathan, I will tell you where I got it. I'm indebted to the late King of Tranquil. Some years ago I visited him. He lived on an old sugarcane island. He had a love of all matters barbaric. He had a collection of glistening spears and costly paddles, aromatic canoes, aromatic canoes. Chief among these latter was a great sperm whale that had washed up dead and stranded on a shore in a storm. He had the giant jawbone propped against a coconut tree, a coconut tree. Inside the skeleton, the high priest regarding. They had made a shrine, they were worshipping Leviathan. They had made the skull into an altar, and artificial smoke was ascending from the hole where the real water spout used to be. The skeleton dimensions I pose to set before you, I shall read to you verbatim from my arm, where I had them tattooed in my days of wild wanderings. But as I wish the other parts of my body do remain a blank page for a poem I was composing, I did not trouble with the odd inch. If you want the odd inch, then go to a whale museum. That's what museums are for. The odd inch.
the odd inch, the odd inch, the odd inch.
As to the great sperm whale itself, his tail exceeds 20 feet, filled with fibers and filaments capable of sinking an entire crew in one swift motion. A mouth the size and spaciousness of a wigwam. Now, from the front, the whale is a dead, blind wall, completely featureless. No, let's say, face. His head, a giant battering ram, and his eyes, well, they're tiny, and they're positioned way out on the sides, port and starboard. So what does the whale see directly in front of him? Absolutely nothing. Utter darkness. So here you have the biggest mammal in the world, and let's say he's barreling towards you at around Mach 20, his mouth wide open, his giant jaws snapping, and he's blind as a bat. So you may ask, how does he zero in on his prey? Answer, well, he takes a zigzag path, flinging himself left, then right, then left, then right, looking out of one eye, then the other, all at top speed, like taking a million tiny snapshots of his fleeing prey, who's also zigzagging about, constantly adjusting his course until, bam! He naps it. So, let us consider Leviathan as he comes floundering down like a ghost through the headwaters of eternity. As I stand here among these mighty whale bones, skulls, tusks, ribs, jaws, I am as by a flood, borne back to that wondrous time before time began. Here, Saturn's great chaos rose. Castles of ice covered the tropics. A great silence, the only sound, hailstones knocking against the icebergs, and a faint clicking under the ice. As the great whales began to invent their language, echolocating themselves so they can find each other in the vast oceans. For what is it to be lost there? The inky blackness, thunderous sounds above.
They say that in 1842, on a plantation in Alabama, the slaves unearthed a huge skeleton, the bones of a giant whale, a Leviathan, from the time when all the world was covered with water, from the Andes to the Himalayas. And even Alabama was deep down under. And the slaves looked at the huge bones, and
Looks like a giant snow hill fountain. Then he disappears. He's a speck on the horizon. We see him only in parts. The flash of a day, his beating heart. He's in pieces and parts. It's easier for a camel to slide through the eye of a needle, than to find a whale who hides at the bottom of the ocean. It's easier to sail around the world in a coffee cup than to see a whale when he comes rising up. We see him only in parts, a fountain things, a speck on the horizon, giant teeth and a burning mouth. Look out, look out, look out, look out. So hit an elephant with a dart, and he just reaches around and he pulls it out with his trunk. Oh, but hit a whale in the heart, and the whole ocean turns red. It turns red. We see him only in parts, a fountain things, a speck on the horizon, giant teeth and a burning mouth. Look out, look out, look out, look out. So get it in your head, and there may be a few things you can't recall at all. But get it in your heart, and you're in pieces and parts. In pieces and parts.
Noah was a righteous preacher. He was the son of Abraham. His righteousness was leaking all over the land. God said to Noah, listen, I'm going to flood out the world. I'm going to drown all the men and women. I'm going to drown all the boys and girls. Hey, hey, hey. Line them up. Line them all up. So get yourself an architect, build yourself a boat, fill it full of animals, and make sure it floats. Now the fish down in the ocean, they didn't need no ark. They were happy swimming down there in the dark. The mighty squid, the dolphin, they never got rounded up. The little shrimp, the great whales, old Noah couldn't count them up. Yeah, promise me a rainbow, go ahead. Promise me this rain will end. And tell me this. What is a man if he outlives the lifetime of his God? What is a man? What is a man?
When Herman Melville was about 22 years old, he and a friend signed up for a whaling voyage, and they shipped out of New Bedford in January of 1841. And the voyage took them down to Rio and around Cape Horn and up the coast of South America to the Galapagos Islands. Now, conditions on the ship turned out to be really terrible, and he and his friend, Richard Green, deserted near the Marquesas Islands. And they found their way ashore. Then they got lost in a valley inhabited by cannibals, the Typee tribe. 5 years later, Melville wrote his first book, and it was all about his adventures with the cannibals. And he called it Typee, A Peep at Polynesian Life. And it was an instant bestseller. The book was then printed in Britain with the title An Account of 4 Months' Residence Among the Native Peoples of the Marquesas Islands, where it sold about 6 copies. 5 years later, Melville wrote Moby Dick, and he was having a really hard time finishing it. And hundreds of pages had gone by, and still, no one had seen Moby Dick. Though sometimes they thought they had. But it always turned out to be just another big cresting wave, or a giant squid, or a squall in the distance. But desire is a funny thing. When you really want something, bits of it start to appear in everything that you see.
Carpenter, come over here. I need a new leg. This one here is splinters. This time, make it waterproof so I can stand in the rain. Take my legs, get rid of them. Let the sharks finish them. Make me a mechanical man. Make me strong 100-fold, a metal fist of solid gold. Make my eyes cold. Make my eyes cold.
Make my arms into giant cranes. Give me thousands and thousands of acres of brain. Make my muscles into pulleys and chains.
Make my muscles into pulleys and chains. Cut my heart out, be my spleen. Make my hands magnets that will
Pull me towards Moby Dick.
fill me full of mercury. An iron hand sharpen me.
Say that I was lost at sea, and this new man replaces me. Make me a mechanical man.
Make my hands magnets.
Make my hands giant magnets that will pull me towards Moby Dick.
make my hands giant magnets that will pull me towards Moby Dick. Oh, the lonely part of this! Send him over there! Love over there! And so it happened that one day, as the Peaquod, pushed by a great breeze, was headed east, directly into the sun. The captain took a reading, and the compass spun around twice, pointing each time unfailingly to the west. "Steersman," he cried, "how is it that we head directly east with the sun astern? Shall you believe your eyes on this piece of metal?" Well, during a storm, the needle of the compass, having been struck by lightning, had lost every magnetic property. The lodestone that guided the ship, no more use than a knitting needle. And so the captain flung the compass overboard. The palsied universe lies before us. And like some lost travelers in Lapland who refuse to wear colored glasses, we're blinded by it. Rat-a-tat. So man's seconds tick. Oh, how immaterial are all materials. So far gone am I on the dark side of the earth that its other side, the theoretical bright one, seems like uncertain twilight to me. decided to use a lot of big long words. Liberty and beauty and freedom, they write it down. But ooh, words are nothing without their windy sound. Ooh, green sea. Visions I've seen and cries I've heard. I can't put these things into words. Might as well put some beans in a hollow gourd. Shake and shake it. There are lots of people who talk just to hear the sound. The sound, the sound of their own voices. Take an empty shell and put it up to your ear. You can hear the ocean rumbling around in there. Ooh, green sea. Ooh, green sea. Ooh, green sea.
Now every slave ship that crosses the Atlantic has its entourage of sharks. Those diamond-toothed, accommodating dogs of the sea who trot alongside ready just in case a parcel needs to be carried anywhere, or a dead slave is thrown overboard and needs a decent burial at sea. Now when the crew kills a whale, they cut off the head and they suspend it from the side of the ship, where it bobs up and down for days. And the sharks wallow and spin in the bloody black waters, scooping out globular pieces of the whale as big as a human head. And they get so excited that they bend themselves around into these circular bows, and they begin to tear out their own entrails. Eating machines of the highest, most efficient order. But then again, turn the picture upside down, and what do you see? The men on deck are hacking away at the meat of shark and whale and wolfing it down. For who is not a cannibal in this world? Anyway, one night the second mate, Stubbs, was up on deck. And this racket was going on down in the ocean, the sharks ramming and tearing. And he says to the cook, "Hey, cook, listen, go tell those sharks to keep it down out there." So the cook goes over to the side of the ship, and he leans over, and he says, "Okay, listen, you sharks." Second mate says to keep it down out here. No, says the second mate. They're never gonna hear that. You gotta preach to those sharks. Try again. So the cook says, okay. Listen, fellow creatures. Fill your damn traps, but stop that racket. Look, cook, says the second man. When you're preaching, you gotta coax them a little bit. You know, like flatter them. Once more. So the cook says, okay. You're sharks. That's certain. Your voraciousness, well, it can't be helped. That's nature. But to govern the wickedness in you, that's the point. For if you govern the shark in you, why then, you'll be an angel. For an angel is nothing but a shark well governed. That's it, says the second man. Now, give him the benediction. Cussed fellow creatures, kick up the damnedest row as ever you can. Fill your damn bellies till they bust. Sink to the bottom of the ocean. Go to sleep on the coral. And then die!
Sometimes you have an instinct for your enemy. Sometimes it's just a smell. It festers and explodes and flames at your feet. Human madness is a cunning thing. Just when you think it's gone forever, it sneaks up behind you wearing a different disguise. Sometimes it's a rhinoceros, charging right at you with his huge horn. Sometimes it's just a blank sheet of paper. Sometimes it's wearing the face of your long dead father. I see the white wall! Something on the horizon! Nothing! Darkness leaping out of light. I am a man running out of time. And the gods, omniscient foreigners always speaking in tongues, babbling, hiding in corners, handing out orders, all the while oblivious of suffering man. And man himself, though idiotic and not knowing what he does, he is full of sweetness and love. And then one day, as the captain stood on deck, a sea hawk flew down out of nowhere, plucked off his hat, and I watched as the hawk flew off until it became a tiny speck on the horizon, the speck holding an even smaller speck. And just as he disappeared, the hat fell from a vast height into the sea.
You know, I've discovered that the things of this world can be divided into two categories. Things that are owned and things that are not owned. Now in the fishery, these categories are called fast fish and loose fish. Now a fast fish is one that's been claimed from the ocean, tied fast to the ship, and is owned by its captor. And a loose fish is one that swims freely in the ocean, owned by no one. Now on land, the human inhabitants can be divided in the same way. The owners and the owned. For what is the needy old widow compared to her greedy landlord? She is a fast fish, tied fast to him and owned. And what are the bodies and souls of Russian serfs compared to their masters? They are fast fish, all owned, all tied fast. Now as for loose fish, what was America when Columbus claimed her in 1492? She was a loose fish, unclaimed and owned by no one. And what was Poland to the Tsar? And India to England? And Mexico to the United States? Ah, loose fish, unclaimed and owned by no one. And further, what are the rights of man and the liberties of the world but loose fish? And what are all men's minds and opinions but loose fish? And what is the great globe itself but a loose fish? And what are you, dear reader, but a fast fish and a loose fish too?
America, why are your libraries full of tears?
That night in the mid-watch, the captain stepped forth and ordered the ship turned around. Suddenly there before us, long and sleek, gliding along the surface smooth as oil, was the whale.
The whale breached. His enormous body wrapped round and round with the harpoon lines. "Give way!" the captain cried. "My soul's voyage starts upon this journey!" And as he cried, the great wheel turned. The line was thrown, but it spun quickly back and pulled him like a shot. And he disappeared into the black water.
And for a minute, silence. Nothing. The boats were some distance now from the ship. And then they looked around. The ship. Great God, where's the ship? And as they turned, their mouths wide open, they saw the whale smash into its hull. Ropes, sails, and timbers reeled, and the great masts of the Peaquod began to sink.
So, each lance pole and man and cast went spinning round and round in a wide revolving vortex that carried the smallest ship of the Peaquod out of sight. Sharks glided by as if they had padlocks on their mouths. And on the second day, the sail drew near, and a ship picked me up at last. Just another orphan. And I alone am left to tell the tale. Call me Ishmael. Were this world an endless plain where we go walking, and all we had to do was pick a place and walk right towards it, life would be so simple. We'd all be going somewhere, the pilgrims to Mecca, the climbers to the mountain top, and lovers to the center of the heart. But there are phantoms that swim before us, and they say, you can walk on water. You can walk on water. And in pursuit of these farthest traits, we chase this round globe. Oh. One way.
That's it from Laurie Anderson's Songs and Stories from Moby Dick, and from the Barbican Theatre here in London. Good night.